You see in the last video that we were struggling to remove the stuck base on a Nikon 2020, that's this camera here, in 2020. Which is exactly the same camera, but with a different model designation, as this F501. Now the F501 is the one that we had previously brought back to life by cleaning up the battery bay, and as you can see there's the batteries in the battery bay, but there is no base. So I purchased that job lot which I told you about because one of them was that 2020 and I wanted to see if I could get the base off, but as you could see with all the struggling that I was unable to. Now there's a couple of ways of removing stuck bolts / screws apart from the usual with using a screwdriver, and in this case, because it's been fused on by corrosion, then I really couldn't turn it with a screwdriver, nor did I have fine enough pliers to get in there to be able to nip it. Plus it's beveled, you know, the top is beveled like that, so as you grip it the pliers just slide off the top, if you know what I mean. And so we soaked it in a couple of things. We soaked it in oil. Well, we didn't soak it in oil, we put a drop of oil on to let that try and seep through. We did put quite a lot of vinegar on it to see if we could dissolve some of that corrosion, and we also put a few drops of the isopropyl alcohol on it to dry out that vinegar. Now I mentioned there's a couple of ways of getting them free if they don't want to come free by themselves. One is heat, but of course naturally you can't heat a plastic base. You might do that on an engine block, for example. You know, if you heat the engine block, then theoretically it expands and allows the bolt or screw that's stuck in it to come free. The other is cold, alternatively, you know, because you could just sort of freeze the bolt and shrink it. But the other thing too is to drill a hole in it, which is what I was suggesting that I might do, and then use something like an easy out, and or drill the head off and grab the shaft with or at least pull the base off and grab the shaft with a pair of pliers and unscrew it in that way. But there is another method, and that is to shock it, and that's exactly what I've just done. And all I did was got a big screwdriver, put it on it and whacked it with a hammer. Let's see if that's done the trick and shocked it free. We've got a screwdriver here, we'll see if it will come out. And then you'll be the first to see, well, you and me both actually, the first to see what's underneath this base and whether it can clean up nicely enough to stick on the bottom of that, and whether in fact we can clean this one up and get this one going, because recall this is the one that actually has a film in it as well. And we do know on this, because remember the difficulty that we had with the other camera is that with the electronic LCD readout we had no way of knowing how many photos have been taken, and as it happened the whole roll had, but we've got that out now. But on this one here I can see that it's up to 4, which means that 3 pictures have been taken and 4 is ready to go. If we can power it up, we can finish that roll. Alternatively, because it has a crank handle on it, which the other one didn't, we can crank the film back and then put that film into something else and then just crank through the first 4 shots, you know, to be sure. But let's try and get this base off and see what sort of a mess is underneath here. Success, it's turning. Still gummed up. It's come free. Let's see if we can pry it open now without breaking anything. Here we go. Perfect. So there's the base of it. There's really no reason why we shouldn't be able to clean that up and get this one going again. It actually has a lens, but the lens needs a good clean. And there's the base. So let's give that a good clean now. Let's give it a wash. So we've cleaned it up, then given it a wash, so left it now in the fresh air to dry. Next job is to get these batteries out and see about salvaging the battery tray and cleaning up this area. It doesn't look too bad. There we go. That's not as bad as the other one, and it came back to life. So let's see how we go. Batteries out and discarded. Note 2 to never just chuck batteries in the bin. No matter what they are, chuck them in recycling. As in battery recycling, and there's plenty of it. You can recycle batteries at all sorts of places. I think Bunnings do it. I'm pretty sure I've seen them at Aldi. But this is actually looking really good, this tray. Let me saturate it with vinegar. We've cleaned up the base, we've cleaned up the battery tray, got rid of the batteries, and now we've just given this a good clean, and you can see that this has actually come up really well. I think there's really no reason why, once we put batteries in this, it shouldn't spring to life. The lens is a bit cloudy. We can clean that. Well, it looks okay. Let's just do a final cleanup on this. So we've cleaned up the battery tray, the bottom, which is to go on this other camera, though I guess for now it might as well stay there, on that one, that is, because we've got a film to use in that. And then we have also cleaned up the housing, as in the camera housing, where the batteries sit. What we're going to do now, just while they dry off, so what we've done is, what we do is vinegar, then isopropyl alcohol, and then I'll show you this product. ChemTools Deox R5, which supposedly improves connections, dissolves corrosion, seals and protects. Now, just while we're waiting for those to dry, because we've wiped them all down now with isopropyl alcohol, let's see if we can clean up this lens a bit, because we may be able to just throw the lens straight back on it. But it's missing a cap, so I've got a few bits and pieces in boxes. Let's see if I can find a cap for it. I couldn't find a lens cover for it, but I did find a UV filter which would at least protect it. So let's clean it all up, and then I reckon everything will have dried and we'll be ready to give it a shot. Look, it's not bad, but it is foggy, and I'm wondering whether there's fog or something inside it. But that's okay. It may give us an interesting effect. It's as good as it's going to get. So confident am I that this is going to fire up. I'm preemptively celebrating with a purple drink. It's not weird, it's actually a berry smoothie which has got frozen berries, banana, pecan nuts, honey, bunch of other stuff, yogurt. Look, now I've just had that lunch break. Well, I haven't quite finished my lunch break, which is that. I've got some batteries ready to go. Here's the camera. Here's the lens that we're going to use. So this is the one that was actually on it. Here's the battery pack. And 4 fresh batteries. Now, I'm going to guarantee that this comes to life. I don't know whether you can see that, but there's, in case you forget, there's a little white dot there. Can you see that? And there's a white dot on the battery tray, so you line those two up so you don't put it in back to front. Now, I haven't put the base on, but I reckon that if we turn this on, now it's got a film in here. The film is a can you see it? I can't. It's a 24 roll, sorry, it's a 24 exposure Fuji 400. So let's make sure that we got the ISO on 400. What do you line it up with? It seems to be stuck on 400, but I'm wondering if it's a DX or something and it's reading the DX. There's kind of little quirks. You've got to lift the ring. So can you see that there? See this ring here? You've got to lift it up to change the ISO. But it is set on 400. Same with this ring here, you've got to lift that up to change that from L, whatever L is, to single shot to continuous or continual. And it looks as if you've got a noise or no noise. So there's a noise. Let's have a look through it. Absolutely nothing. Maybe we were too eager to celebrate. Let's have another look at this. I've just pulled the bottom off this here. There's nothing underneath there, but I pulled this bottom off here, which is where the battery cradle sits. And I've spotted what looks like some pretty serious corrosion right in there. Can you see in there? Now that's a real worry, because of course that means it's inside the camera. So I think for now what we're going to do is concede defeat. We'll crank the film back out, because we can do that. We'll put that in that other camera, the one that we had the full roll in, you'll recall from that last video. We'll put it in there and we'll shoot the rest of it. Then I can open the back and we can have a look and see if we can see what's in underneath here, because there's definitely some serious corrosion happening in there. So let's call it quits for now, and we'll crank that film back. According to this, there's been 4 shots. Can you see that? Or 3. Actually, that's up to number 4. Can you see in there? And so if we crank it back into the well, not quite into the cassette, we can then load it into that other one, crank our way through 4 shots on that. Let's give it a shot. So with these it's very easy, because of course all you've got to do is release the film, which is there, and crank it back. You can hear it. You hear it when it pops free. That's it. He said hopefully. Now we pop this up to open the back. And there we go with the leader. So it's a 24 exposure Fujifilm. We can now open this up and see if we can spot where some of that corrosion is. It actually looks pretty clean in there. And we'll do one more thing. We'll go and load that film onto that other camera, and then go and shoot. We'll leave this lens on because it's a bit cloudy anyway. Actually, why don't we leave this other lens on? Because this is the one that's not auto-focusing. And then we can test it out. So that's that one, do you recall, with the damaged contacts? So let's put this away for now. And let's try one more thing. That is to put a film in this. Do you remember we were messing around with this one? This is the F501S. Let's put this film in. Now remember, we've got to go through to number 4. Turn it on. And I think if we press this, at the moment it says it's empty, but if we press this, that should load. Still says empty. Let's try something else. Let's try that. Well, that says 1. So that now reads 1. Can you see that there or not? So we've got to shoot through 4 pictures, and we've got to set it on ISO 400. Which we've done. So you set the ISO here by pressing ISO here and then turning that knob. You see that says 400. Now we'll put it on manual, we'll shoot off 4 shots with the lens cap on in a dark room, just in case. That's done. So you see we're up to 5, can you see that? So I've shot through 4 shots, hopefully haven't double exposed anything because I had the lens cap on. But now we can go and take some photographs with this. That preemptive purple drink was premature because we didn't get that camera going. I did pull the little camera bay off it and it looked like there was corrosion inside the camera. Cheers. Thanks for watching.